Levente to start the meeting. Enjoy.
Okay, thank you very much, Caroline. So today, Hungary was responsible to organize a meeting in dairy cow production, breeding, or nutrition. So we at the university made a decision that we will invite two guests who are specialists in this field. The first speaker is Tamas Toth. He is a research professor and the dean at Széchenyi István University. He will talk about electronic nose, near-infrared spectroscopy, and these rapid analytical methods that can be used at the farm site. And he's followed by Istvan Forgo. He's a lecturer and scientist at University of Nyíregyháza and also working at Agrofirm Hungary company, and he is the head of Ruminant division. He will talk about the challenges of feeding in the robot, so PMR and this type of approach. So I would like to ask the first speaker, Tamas Toth, to start his presentation.
Okay, good morning. Can you see my presentation on the screen without any problem?
Yes, and we can hear you.
Okay, and thank you very much for the information.
Tamas,
yes?
Maybe if you use the full screen, I mean the whole slide. Yes. It could be a little bit better.
I did. Can you see the whole side? No?
Yes, but I think that's not the presenting mode.
It's not the presentation mode. Sorry. And now?
That's perfect now.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry for that. Thank you for the opportunity to participate in this online program. As Levente said, I'm Tamas Toth, a research professor at Széchenyi István University, Győr. Today, I would like to give a presentation on the role of automatic feeding systems in cattle feeding. That's the first part of my presentation. And in the second part of the presentation, I would like to highlight the importance of near-infrared technology and electronic nose among the rapid examination technologies. We know that in the case of traditional milking and group housing, TMR, total mixed ration feeding system is used. TMR is a method of feeding cows that combines feeds formulated to a specific nutrient content into a single feed mix. We know also that the incidence of digestive and or metabolic problems often decreases when TMR is fed, so it's an advantage of when we use this technique. That is why this is a very common way of feeding dairy cows. Another feeding strategy is partial mixed ration, PMR. This means mixed feeding combined with individual feeding of concentrate. So the mixed feeder mixes roughage such as silage or haylage with a proportion of concentrate. The composition is based on the cows with low milk yield, and high yield cows receive extra concentrate from the concentrate station in the milking robot. With PMR, you can therefore feed each cow differently and adjust the ration individually. That's why using robots to milk cows on the dairy farms also changed the feeding systems, but we will have more information about in this field from the next presentation. Automated feed systems helps the owner of the farms to have more flexibility for their daily routine, as well as precise management of their feeding strategy. So this is also very advantage of when we use automated feed systems in the practice. It's important to highlight that automatic feeding system enable more frequent and precise daily feed distribution. Unfortunately, this type of feeding technology is not yet widespread in Hungary compared to Western European countries. Only a few % of Hungarian cattle farms have this technology. In contrast, robotic milking is growing much more dynamically, and in 2023, the number of farms using this technology, I mean robot milking, reached 50. The objective of this study, which is presented on this slide, was to determine whether the frequency of feed delivery 6 times versus 11 times in an automatic feeding systems, how it affects the behavior patterns, milking duration of dairy cows, and milk yields. And we can see that it was found that the frequency of the feed delivery had no significant correlation with the total daily lying time. Here you can see. However, feed delivery 11 times a day compared to 6 times a day significantly decreased pre-feeding laying time and increased post-feeding times per day. So the low feeding frequency showed a significant effect to results in higher milk yield. Here you can see. This slide shows that raw material silos of 2 Hungarian automated cattle farms. So this picture was taken here in Hungary, and exposure to the weather is clearly visible in both cases. So this can be a serious problem, especially in summer during the times of heat stress for farmers using an automatic this kind of automatic feed systems. In this trial, the authors also proved that with using automated feed system, it is very important to pay attention to good silage quality, or if necessary, maybe even to guarantee a good silage quality to applying silage additives, especially during the summer time when the average ambient temperature higher than 20 Celsius. This is different in winter time when the ambient temperature is lower than 6 Celsius. So there is no problem with the yeast count and the temperature of the TMR. Here you can see on the slide too. As the result of the decades of systematic genetic improvement, nowadays we have a very good selection of powerful genotypes that can produce animal products with high quality and quantity. And to maintain the high production of these genotypes, the feeding has to be perfect to provide the necessary composition and amount of nutrients. At the same time, the deviation of the nutrient values cause loss of productivity, so it's a problem. So that's why I would like to emphasize the importance of near-infrared technology. What is NIRS? Near-infrared technology is commonly used rapid analytical methods, and it's a very useful tool for feed industry to measure the composition or other values of the biological samples. Near spectroscopy utilizes the near-infrared region of the electromagnetic radiation. The most common approach is reflectance spectroscopy, when the light is shown on the sample, and diffusely reflected the rays of lights are measured with the photodetectors, wavelength by wavelength. So the near spectrum holds information about the physical structure and/or the chemical composition of the samples. The measurement of spectrum is very easy, generally said. No sample preparation is needed, is required. That's the advantage. And the spectra combined with qualitative or quantitative reference data can be used for development of calibration or classification models. So this is a quantitative calibration, and this is a qualitative classification models. So with these, we can determine the composition or class analogy of the samples very rapidly. So that's the two ways. The real benefit of near-infrared technology is listed in this slide, and we can provide prompt results that can be transferred via internet or intranet immediately after scanning. With the rapid measurements, we have a possibility to have a lot of sample points, both in time and space. And spectra contain lots of data points describing multiply compositional structural properties of the samples. And this vast amount of information can be analyzed, and the best knowledge can be extracted. So use of near technology also lead a lower environmental impact. So this is also very important parameters. And finally, we can also reach our original goal. As I mentioned before, the efficiency of animal production can be increased due to immediate information about the feed. Some words about the techniques. We know that there are different types of spectrometer that are available. The classical measurements are done in laboratories using so-called benchtop spectrometers, while many industrial applications work with fiber optic attachments, which this allow moving the measurement points out of the lab and next to or into in-process line. Here you can see, and this at-line, on-line, or in-line approaches allow rapid feedbacks to the process control, and therefore we can improve the production significantly. Very important thing that the miniaturization of the spectrometers opened a very new scope of this scope for these applications. Tiny portable, here you can see, or handheld devices can be seen in the market, and that can also be used in process analytics, or this can be given to the end users with various mobile application evaluating the scans. And many of these devices have no moving elements, are shock resistance, highly user-friendly. However, their applications still requires some basic spectroscopic knowledge. It's very important. So without this knowledge, we cannot use properly this technology. This slide shows some application of the near spectrometers in dairy production. For example, the analysis of feed raw materials give information for animal nutritionists to formulate the best ration for the cows, while here you can see checking the diet can confirm the formulation, and analyzes raw milk give rapid feedback on the success of nutrition, and easy analysis blood, urine, and feces allows deeper understanding the physical effects of the feed. Sorry, there is a noise which coming from the internet. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we can go on. For people, for specialists, for those spending more time within daily farm condition, it is well known that silage are extremely heterogeneous, depending on the various factors of harvesting and compressing. So it is often happens that we have different layers of silages within the silo, and it is very important to know what quality, at least what amount of dry matter we load into the mixer when we load, for example, 1,000 kilogram into it. So this knowledge is essential for mixing good quality TMR. Therefore, there are already self-propelled feed mixture with near device in the conveyor part. And this tiny device is continuously analyzing the loaded material and indicating an exact dry matter loaded, providing live data to the operator. So it's a very important thing. I would like to show you in one of our studies, we identified silage unacceptable for feeding based on their near spectra. The slide shows the score plot where the bad quality samples from well-identified group, here you can see, and allowing the user to detect the rodent samples with an automated system reliably within few seconds. So that's also an advantage of this technique. Another study coming from our laboratory, that the near data were combined with laboratory chemical composition data, and linear regression models were developed for later predictions. And the highly accurate models can determine the moisture content and or the protein content of a newly received corn silage within few seconds without any sample preparation. So I think that is the main advantage of these techniques. Okay, some words about another field. This another field of rapid analytical methods is ENOS techniques. So this rapid analytical methods focusing on the aromatic properties of samples, be it feed or food. So this so-called electronic noise measurement normally starts with generating saturated headspace about solid or liquid samples. So here you can see. And one type of technology is equipped with gas sensors, where the resistance of the individual sensors is changed by the volatiles, and the resistance changes are recorded as the smell print of the sample. Here you can see. Gas chromatography-based electronic noises. It's another technique. Work with ultra-fast gas chromatograph sensors, where the chromatograms are evaluated as a set of virtual sensors, and the sensor signer are sensor signer of any type of eNOS are finally analyzed by multivariate methods, or simply the odor patterns are regulated. So this is the techniques, and this picture shows the preparation of a feed. Here you can see silage samples, and here a cheese sample for eNOS measurement. And the laboratory eNOS equipment is shown in the picture here. So these highly accurate laboratory electronic noses are very big. Here you can see, with multiple supporting devices. But at the same time, there are more and more types of portable electronic noises in the market. And we may expect that the improvement of this technology in the near future. So we hope that that we will reach for the practice too at the same time. I would like to show you another own results about the eNOS. In the following slides, I show some of our latest results with the GC-based eNOS. Here, the aroma-based separation of winter cereals. Here you can see the composition of the winter cereals, triticale, oats, barley, wheat, etc. And an Italian rye grass, mixed silages can be seen. And the separation of the types of mixtures are shown at different stages of fermentation. So on the day 1st, 7th, 14, and 19. The technology provides information on the similarities and at the same time differences of the mixtures, which can also be related to the chemical quantity of the groups. Some details about in this field. This slide show a separation of one mixture silage from the rest based on the distinct odor of this group. So the technology allowed the identification of the cause of the odor different, for example, which were in lactic acid and ethanol in the case of mix D, or acetic acid, which was typical for mix B. Here you can see. Okay, and finally, another theme about the control and experimental cheeses. In this study, we analyzed the aroma changes of different cheeses during the store, and the experimental cheese contained increased amount of omega-3 fatty acids, such as alpha-linolenic acid, docosahexaenic acid, eicosapentaenic acid, and eNOS was utilized the check of odor alteration caused by the modified fatty acid profile. And this slide shows that it can be seen that the experimental cheese samples are almost identical with the control ones at 4th week of aging. Here you can see. The biggest difference among the groups appears at week 8, while by the week 12, here you can see the difference starts shrinking again. So this information can help the producers to check the best time for sale, depending on the will to maximize or minimize, show or hide the different odor pattern of the experimental cheese. And thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much for the presentation. And Istvan, if you are ready, you can start sharing your slides.
Yes, I'm ready. You hear me?
Yes?
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm not sharing my screen. First, I would like to say thanks for the organizers to giving me the opportunity to present you a few slides about the challenges of robotic milking and feeding. please tell me if you see my screen?
That's perfect.
Perfect. Okay. And to keep up the internet speed, I will switch off my camera during my presentation to be sure that no problem will happen during the presentation. So I would like to start with a short introduction, my presentation. And then we will talk about some general informations. And then I made two parts. I switched to two parts of my presentation. In the first part, I would like to say a few words about the management challenges and then the feeding challenges on farms where we are using robots, milking robots. First of all, a few words about myself. I'm teaching at the University of Nyíregyháza more than 20 years, animal breeding and feeding studies. And in parallel with it, I'm also working for AgriFirm Hungary. This is a company owned by about 20,000 Dutch farmers, and our company is present 30 years in Hungary, as you see on my screen. I'm responsible for ruminant sales in Hungary and Romania. Our customers are mainly coming from the dairy and beef sector. So what I'm gonna tell to you, these are experiences from the fields, from Hungary and also from the Netherlands, because we are quite close. We are working quite closely with our Dutch colleagues, where we know that there are many thousands of milking robots are working on farms. So our colleagues have huge amount of data available. And you will see in my presentation, the last part, I will use that database to present you some nice slides and graphs. In general, from the Holstein Friesian cows, we have about 170,000 milk-checked Holstein Friesian cows in Hungary. On little bit under 400 farms, so the farm average is about 440 cow per farm. Out of that, based on the present producers on the market and what we see on the market, about 14-15% of the cows milked by robots these days, and this sector is rapidly increasing. So it means that automatization itself, it's increasing rapidly. And I was really happy when Tamas in his presentation was talked about automatic feeding systems. This part is also a growing part of the automatization, but we see separately some farms who use automated feeding systems, most of the farms using automated milking systems, and we have only few farms who can combine the automatic feeding and milking systems. But we have some examples also from Hungary for that. We see that we have about 17% of farms milked by robots. The average robot per farm is 5.3, 5.4 robots. It also shows that the size of the farms are much bigger than the Western European average because, for example, in the Netherlands, this number is much lower, a bit under 3 robots per farm. Number of cows we milking on farm with robots is approximately 320. As we experienced in Hungary, about 40% of the farms are using guided flow systems. who know deeper in the details what means guided flow system, is mainly the Delaval system, and a few other companies partly guided flow systems using, and 60% of the systems are the free flow systems. I was taking one dilemma to my presentation, to this slide, that during visiting really big farms, they have a dilemma to use or to choose for milking robots or using fully automated carousels. So this is the dilemma which makes farmers and decision makers thinking on to using the robots or the carousels. And really based on which articles we are reading or who we are talking about, we see that somewhere 25-30% of the herd, or 50%, which is also could be expectable, will be milked by robots. So we are nowadays about 15%, and it's increasing rapidly. If we come to the management side, the main principles on farms started using milking robots is the different mindset that we have to use on farms. The daily routine will rapidly and extremely changing. I will talk a few words about it a bit later. We will spend much less time on milking, which gives us or gives the farmer possibility and gives more need to the farmer to take care of cows and check the data. I'm also saying by experience that it's crucial to check the data and check the settings of the robots, because we have to be sure that if the settings are correct, then everything is running well and smoothly. If there are any problems or changes in the settings that we are not realizing, then maybe we realize later the problems, then we have to. So checking and acting on the differences is also very important. TMR, PMR. We heard about in the presentation of Tamas. It's also very important how to set the PMR. Some cases I saw that PMR means in some farms a feeding company delivers granulated feeding from the robot, and the formula is totally different from the previous TMR. So we take that granulated feed on top of the PMR. What we advise, create the total mixation and take out those parts of the components from the concentrates that we want to feed from the robot, and the rest will be the PMR. So it's also a mindset difference how to formulate the PMR. We will have extreme amount of data available on farm compared to the traditional normal milking systems. So it's also crucial to grow up and to be on that level, that mindset that we can and we need to use those data day by day, analyze, because we have a lot of data, we have a lot of input if we can see the data and we can use them. Another really important part, cows must be healthy. If we don't have a healthy stock, then we will have problems on robotic farms. If the health is not an issue, then things can run really smoothly. The two things that the cow always has options to reach: water, feed bank, cubicles, and the robots. So out of these four, two is really crucial to have to reach quickly and easily. Another main principle is to be sure that reducing time of cleaning or feeding time in that case, or that from that perspective, not to generate too much traffic in the milking area, even in the guided flow systems. So all the maintenance, all the daily routine that we are doing on a robotic farm should be really well organized, not to create too much traffic and too much cow movement on the farm. Because what's the most important challenge of the cows? Is that the cow needs to go to the robot herself, which is quite often visible that it's a problem during starting up in a robot farm, that we are fetching the cows too often to the robot. So the cow should go by herself to the robot. Everything you do, try to prevent the cows to move as a herd. So they have to move in one by one, and all the cows should have the possibility to go to rest, to feed, to drink to the robot without without giving them the direction or without fetching them. This will be the most ideal way of managing the robot herds. We have to prevent lameness. So if we have leg problems, then for sure milk production, dry matter intake, and milking times are decreasing immediately. We have to prevent stress around the robots. It's also visible time to time that we or the colleagues are not patient enough to teach the cows to go to the robot. If we are forcing them and they have negative feedbacks around feeding or with the robot itself, then the times of milking will decrease and milk production will decrease. Create positive stimulation for the cows. We have to deliver really nice, tasty feed from the robot. Important part that we have conductivity data from the robots. We have to use it. We don't use as much as it will be used, so it will be necessary to use much more, because in robotic farms, somatic cell count in general should decrease. We see time to time that it's not the case because of some management issues. What make the cows move as a herd? Feeding moments. So feed more than in a regular farm. Cleaning the cubicles. Clean it very simply and not so not with so many people together, and focus on less problems or less movement in the herd with these stops. Hoof trimming the same. What can we do to prevent this? We have to prevent, or we have to deliver good mix ration, push the feed multiple times to keep up fresh PMR, and hoof trimming not to do 1 or 2 times, and then every 2 or 3 weeks on the farm. Always we have to feed fresh ration. So it means that not 2 times, even 4, 5, 6 times. So with feeding robots, it is really useful and helpful. We will see that the results are coming better and better if we use feeding robots. Important that all cows needs minimum 2 times of milking per day and maximum 4. For that, we need healthy cow, no lameness. Healthy cow wants to come to the robot and wants to eat. We need high fertility, high production, and good body condition score. Keep cows active. with more feeding moments, with higher dry matter intake, the less cows get used to being fed. It's a really important part. Don't let cows to being fed on certain times. So we have to build up the daily routine of the farm and only fetch cows, those ones which are really necessary to go to the robots. Fresh cows after calving and those ones who needs to go to the robot because based on her milk production, it doesn't mean that we have to fetch all the cows who is on the red list in the screen when we're checking the milking robots. Daily routine, I don't want to talk too much about it. It's a special daily routine should be developed on the robot, specialized on the farm that we are working on. We need to do a complete round in the morning, then a small round during the day, about 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, then a complete round at the evening, 6 o'clock, and a small round again at 2 o'clock and at night. And then a complete round in the morning again. Fetching cows, we should do only 2 times, ideally, in a complete round, in the morning and in the afternoon. This is our advice. How we can optimize the automated milking systems. Use the capacity of the system as much as possible. It's not the case that we have to have a lot of milkings per cow. A lot of milk per robot. That's a crucial part. So use the robot's capacity as much as possible. It's about 2,000 to 7,000 kg per robot per day by experience. In some cases, some farms less than 2,000, maybe 1.5. But depending on the robot technology or the producers, it can go up to 3,500 kg per day. An interesting graph about milkings and milk speed. Herds, we see quite huge difference between herds and milking speed. So it's really makes differences if my herd can give only 2 kg per minute milking speed or 3 kilos. So you see, based on this number, we can have more milk with less milkings because of the high milking speed. So it also means that it's not exactly the only number that we have to check, and we have to have more than 3 milkings per day. We can do with less milkings the higher number or higher amount of milk per robot per day. Spare time. Usually we see less than 15% of spare time. If it's above that, we will see much more fetch cows in the robot, and we will see more cows below 2 milkings per day. As I said a few slides before, it's crucial to have at least 2 milkings per day per cow. If it's not the case, then we have to find out what's the problem. We have to increase it even in the first 2-3 months of the lactation. Failures, less than 5%. If it's above, then it will cost a lot. Clear the others, no hair on the others, wide with teeth crossed, longer waiting time of the milk permission. In the shorter waiting time, you can give shorter waiting time if the teeth are too wide. Some experiences from feeding aspects. Beside really good production, granulated feed has to draw the cow to the robot. It means that we have to use as feeding advisors, feed producers, really fresh, clean, tasty raw materials, relatively high crude fiber content in the granulated feed, depending on the farm settings, the PMR, and we can use 1 or 2 kind of granulated feed, or even 3. We can make different settings on the energy and the protein levels of the different granulated feeds, but we have to keep up the healthy and active herd with using granulated feed. What is important if we feed the cows in the robots, that the energy at the feed bank should be at least 5 kilo less than the herd average milk yield. It means that if we have too much energy, what we see here in this graph, if we have too much energy compared to the milk yield, we will see that the number of fetched cows increasing. So we will have too much fetched cows. So farmers will realize that they have to fetch continuously the cows. So it will be some kind of a never-ending story. If we decrease the energy in the feed bank and we deliver this energy from the granulated feed from the robot, then we will see that we have much less fetched cows. So cows will go by themselves automatically to the robot. So it's really critical, this part of feeding strategy, that we can lower, or we need to lower the milk yield at least 5 kilograms, but it can be even more. With good feeding management, we can keep up cows active with low producing herds, low milkings a day, lower energy level. We have to make sure that the feed contains enough NDF, good balanced ratio, starch, sugars, proteins, enough feed and the feed bank. Time to time, we see that the feed bank is empty. What problems it can make if the feed bank is empty? When we're feeding again, all the cows will come to the feed bank to eat. If it's a guided system, then the waiting area before the robot can fill up quite quickly. Then we make a lot of movement on the herd, and those cows which are doesn't have milk permission yet, but maybe half an hour later they will get the milk permission. They will go through the smart gates to the feed bank without having the possibility to go to milking because the waiting area is full. So it's also a mixture of feeding and management issue if we don't have enough feed in the feed bank. So feed regularly, multiple times a day. It means 3, 4, 5 times. It's based on the farm's settings. If we have acidosis, it makes cows slow. We can realize that the number of milkings will decrease and we have much more fetched cows. So keep an eye on this thing, this problem. Don't make the ratio too wet. It will also decrease the number of milkings. Feed, granulated feed, we advise at least 2 kilos from the robot, but it can go up to 8 or even 10 kilos. Normally, it's about maximum 6, 7. Fresh cows, it's just a question that do we need to put the fresh cows to different groups? In some farms, we see that the farm makes different fresh cow groups with robotic milking systems, but it's not an advice. We can keep up really mixed groups with fresh cows, peak lactation and late lactation cows. Robot can make its work perfectly. And these will on these final slides. I just wanted to show you some numbers based on farm practice from farm data from the Netherlands. That what are the correlations between different nutrients and the number of milkings and milk production per herd. On the left part, we see that the NDF content has an effect on number of milkings. So if we use higher amount of NDF, we will see increase in number of milkings. What's behind the correlation? That if we have higher NDF, most probably we use lower energy in the PMR. It means that we deliver more from the granulated feed, so the number of milkings are higher. Dry matter, it's also interesting. So why we say don't make too wet the TMR or PMR, sorry, because we see lower number of milkings if the PMR is too wet. So keep a bit drier, then the number of milkings are increasing. Interesting, two diagrams, so two graphs. What you see, sugar and protein. We see almost zero effect on the sugar and protein if we compare or if we check the number of milkings. Really slight positive effect on the sugar increase and protein content improvement. Starch, negative effect. If we use higher starch in the PMR, we will see less number of milking. So if we can reduce the amount of starch, we will have higher number of milkings. Almost the same effect of bypass starch. Milkings and refusals. If we have higher number of milkings, it has a positive effect, obviously, on the milk production of the herd. So positive correlation we see. Refusals, the same. If you have more refusals, then the milk production it's decreasing in our herd. Milk yield and number of milkings. We see that if our milk yield is increasing, it's experienced based on the huge amount of data from the robots, then milk number of milkings per cow increasing. So quite strong positive correlation between these data. Somatic cell count, as I thought, it should be decreased, and it's visible. So if we use correctly our robot system and we use the conductivity data, the robots are helping us a lot to decrease the somatic cell count in the herd. But it's also visible that if we have more and more times of milkings per day, then the somatic cell count will decrease. Amount of concentrates that we feed from the robot, it has also a positive effect on the number of milkings. So if we use more from a concentrate from the robot, it means we use more energy from the robot and less from the feed bank. So number of milkings are increasing. Correlation between the number of cows per robot and the number of milking. It's also obvious that if we have less cows in the robot, then we have more times per milking, more free time we see by robot, and therefore the number of milkings increasing. Feed bank energy content. It's really interesting number, or the diagram that we see that the milk production and the number of milkings increasing when we decrease the amount of energy in the feed bank. So you see 5 till 20 kg difference between the TMR and PMR in energy content. So as if the difference is higher, then we will face with really higher number of milkings, which can deliver us higher milk production. Last slide, combined options that we advise mostly on farms, how to set up the feeding tables on farm. We have to focus on the first 21 days to build up the milk production. You see here it's 10 kilo per day per cow concentrates. Then keep up the maximum amount until 70, 80 or 100 days to give the possibility for the cows to have as high as possible, reach the highest milk peak production. Then after day 80 or 100, switch to the 7-day average feeding table, and then we will see that the lower producing cows get lower amount of feed based on the 7-day average production, and then before 90 days of calving, before drying off, then we start with the dry off feeding table. So this is the general approach of settings that we advise and we see quite often on robotic farms. I would like to say thanks for your attention. A few slides I wanted to use as an eye-opener to start some conversation about it. Thank you very much again.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Caroline, do we have some minutes if there is any question?
Yes, if someone has a question, just let us know. Or write it in chat. Does anybody has a question?
I have a short question to Istvan. Istvan,
Yeah.
could you give me some information or advantage or benefit of the fully automated carousel system? So you mentioned at the beginning of the presentation that farmers can make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
In which case would you advise the automated carousel system?
Yeah. On really big farms, so let's say around 1,000 cows or even more. Fully automated carousels are needs less money as an investment, so they are a bit cheaper if you compare. And we have 55 to 60 cows per robot. So for a huge herd, more than 1,000, so it will takes a lot of money. Maintenance, it's also quite expensive, and labor. It's also necessary to have on different barns, 0 to 24. So maybe with less labor, you can use the fully automated carousels. So these are the main principles, so main goals that the skeptical colleagues, let's say in this way, they want to go for the fully automated carousels.
Okay, Thank you very much. Thank you. Are there any questions? Yeah, because a little bit we ran out of time. That could be one of the reasons. But if no, I have also a short question to Tamas. Are you still here, Tamas? Yeah.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. I think one of the biggest advantage of your system, this near infrared and the e-nose, about the operational cost or maintenance cost. Is there any operational or maintenance cost? Or how should we calculate? We purchase it and it's working over years?
If you buy the database and the calibrations, then yes. If not, then I think it's a hard work to build, let's say, a good calibration for near. Yes, so it's not an yes or no answer, in that case. Yes, so it's sometimes it's I think it's a hard work to build the correct calibration models, mainly in near. As for the e-nose, it's I think it's for a technique for the future, so we will see. Now mainly we testing these methods and these techniques in the lab, mainly in the lab, but I think at the same time it's a very objective way to analyze the smell of the roughage, mainly silage, haylage, and so on. So now it is judged. It is done by human people by at the lab. So I think it's not. Sometimes it's objective, sometimes it's not. He knows it's. I think it's a very objective way to make a decision about the properties of the silage or haylage. But it's for the future.
Understand. Thank you. Thank you very much.
There was a question in the chat. The question is it possible to detect mycotoxins in feed or milk using NIR technique?
Yes, if you check the international literature, then the answer is yes, but not all mycotoxins. If I remember correctly, there are data from aflatoxins or DON, desoxynivalenol toxins. Then the answer is yes.
Okay, I hope the question is answered, Doha Khalife.
Sorry, can I have
Yes.
one question, please, for Thomas? Is it with the system about the visits, you said less energy in the bank and more at the robot, up to 10 kilos of concentrate? Is that a problem with the rumen pH because of so many concentrate in the robot?
It's a question for me or Istvan, because Istvan, I think Istvan.
Yeah, I think it's my question. Yeah.
It's your question, yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
No
So
problem.
when you saw that it's the concentrate can go up to 10 kilograms, it means that it's critically high. So we in Hungary we don't use this high amount because we have to be sure that it contains enough buffers not to get cows to acidosis. Then you have to use as less as possible the rapid fermentable carbohydrates and use as much as possible NDF in the concentrate. So the concentrate chemical composition should be equal somehow the composition of the PMR or TMR in fibers, in NDF, and maybe higher in buffers. So to reduce the risk of acidosis. If it's the case, then and we can maximize the feed consumption in a robot during visit. If we set it, for example, for 2 kilos, then we can skip this problem. If it's not the case, then robot can feed up to 3-4 kilos per visit. It can make problems. So with settings, with ideal settings, its risk is quite low.
Okay, because I noticed that as long as the energy content in the bank is lower, yes, the visits are higher, but I'm still a bit too scared to use so many concentrates in the robot. So, and also some of the consultant says you should only use kilo or 2 kilos in the robot and everything else in the bank. But I did notice the less good visits, so more cows to fetch.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's hard to decide what's the best decision to do.
Yeah,
it's really hard to find the sweet spot.
Somewhere between 2 and 6 kilos, I think. 10 kilos, it's theoretically possible, but in the practice we use 6 or 7 maximum.
Thanks.
Yeah,
thank you.
It's more safe. Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other question? If not, I would thank our presenters for the interesting webinar and presentations. I hope you got much new information or answers to your questions. Yeah, from my side, thank you very much. Have a nice day. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will publish the recording on our website.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the speakers.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.